To McMahon Stadium in Calgary and join Chris Cuthbert and Glenn Suter.
I'd like to welcome viewers across the country to McMahon Stadium in Calgary, just underway here as we approach the 5-minute mark of the opening quarter. Rob Maver missed a 32-yard field goal after Calgary looked like they were getting off to a quick start. Cleo Lemon has just been sacked on the first possession for the Argos, which stalls near midfield.
And happy Canada Day to football fans across the country. What a great way to celebrate it. A couple of games in the Canadian Football League. A beautiful evening here in Calgary. Both teams after their first offensive series.
Bree Fontaine with the wind at his back, and it's Larry Taylor from inside the 5 at a good kickoff and is swarmed around the 10-yard line. That's a 60-yard boot with the win for Bree Fontaine. Tonight's starting quarterbacks brought to you by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the CFL.
Henry Burris led the Calgary Stampeders to 13 wins in 2010. The outstanding player in the Canadian Football League, just shy of 5,000 yards. And in Cleo Lemon's first year in the CFL, 3,344 yards. He threw more interceptions than touchdowns, but all his teammates saying it's a much more confident Cleo Lemon in 2011.
Henry Burris, third pass of the game. He's 3 for 3 and a completion in the flat. There is Kenyon Rambo with the catch.
Take a look at the starting lineup for the Calgary Stampeders. Joffrey Reynolds, the veteran of 8 years in the backfield beside Henry Burris. A great receiving core. When you look at Romby Bryant, Kenyon Rambo, Nick Lewis, Forzani and R.J. Franklin, the offensive line with Middleton and Dean at the guards. No Demetrius Sumpas injured, as well as Edwin Harrison, both injured for the Stamps.
Second and just under 2, and here's Burris on a roll, and he takes off, has the first down, and a feet-first slide around the 30-yard line for Henry Burris to move the chains. Over 400 yards rushing for Burris in each of the last 7 seasons.
Take a look at that Argonaut defense that led the league in points allowed last year in the Canadian Football League. There's Ronald Flemons at the rush end. Linebacking core in the middle with Jason Pottinger out of McMaster. And then you look in the secondary and your starting safety, Willie Pyle. 4 interceptions last year, 83 tackles.
Highest, Glenn, highest scoring offense against the stingiest defense a year ago. Handoff straight ahead. Joffrey Reynolds pounds it to the 35-yard line. Close to 6 for Joffrey Reynolds. 6 times 1,000-yard running back in the CFL.
Well, John Hufnagel, after the preseason, talked about how he wanted to see more production out of his offense. They played limited, the starting group, but when they did, they felt that they were a little bit behind throughout the preseason. But this is a team that won 13 games, as I mentioned, in 2010, with a quarterback that's won a championship and an outstanding player to his resume as well.
Timeout, Calgary.
Early timeout called by Henry Burris. John Hufnagel would love a repeat of last year. He just wants the end to change because this was the best team in the CFL through the regular season and then upset here at McMahon in the Western Final by the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Drew Tate is, you can see, not dressed. He was injured in the final preseason game for Calgary. And they flew in Michael Bishop this week, former Winnipeg Blue Bomber, to move into that number 2 spot. Brad Sinopoli will stay at the 3 spot. He makes the roster, draft pick this year for Calgary.
And no introductions needed in Toronto. Michael Bishop with the Argos for 99 games between 2002 and 2008. They get the play call set and a hitch screen to Larry Taylor, the special teams player who is also going to be involved in the offense. Chad Owens battling, trying to get to the first down stick at the 40.
Well, you look at this Calgary receiving core, and it's got a lot of weapons for John Hufnagel, Dave Dickinson, the offensive coordinator, and Henry Burris to go ahead and try to utilize. Kenyon Rambo, over 1,000 yards for him and 8 touchdowns. You take a look at the numbers, 3,000-yard receivers with Nick Lewis, Romby Bryant, and Kenyon Rambo.
3 in the top 10 of receivers last year. Argos did not have a receiver in the top 20 in yardage gained. Here's Reynolds straight ahead again, and Joffrey Reynolds will pound it up to the 48-yard line with another good run Brought down by Ronald Flemings.
Jim Barker, the head coach for the Toronto Argonauts, a team that finished the season 9-9 last year, which was quite a turnaround when you consider in 08 and 09 they had 7 wins combined in those 2 years. So to get to 9-9 and get to the East Final, pretty good accomplishment. Now Jim Barker would like to take that extra step.
Here's Joffrey Reynolds slicing through the Argos front again and crashing down to the Toronto 47-yard line. There is a penalty marker on the play. But the Stampeders have had some success early on the ground.
Which is not a surprise when you have Joffrey Reynolds in the backfield.
Offside. Toronto number 25. That penalty is declined. First down.
Offside called on the boundary corner. Sean Smalls, who replaces Willie Middlebrooks, who had to retire because of a neck problem. That's a 15-yard pickup for Reynolds as they decline the offside penalty against the Argonauts. So Calgary's got something going here. First down at the Argo 47. And it's Joffrey Reynolds again, and this time stacked up and pushed back. Jason Pottinger, the middle linebacker, the Whitby, Ontario product, in on the tackle.
2010 for Jason Pottinger, a career high in both tackles and sacks. 71 solo tackles for Jason Pottinger, getting a chance as a Canadian to play in the middle of that linebacking core. And it's a good one with Jordan Younger and Kevin Iben.
So it's 2nd and 7. Short drop, another flag, and the pass batted down at the line of scrimmage. And Burris indicating that this penalty too is going to go against Toronto.
Offside. Toronto number 35. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, second down.
So there's the other Canadian linebacker, Kevin Iben. 3rd in the league last year with 101 tackles.
Right off the edge, Kevin Iben just gets happy feet, jumps into that neutral zone. He's trying to cover Joffrey Reynolds out of the backfield and just gets caught right on the snap of the football.
He had a 2-interception game against Henry Burris in Toronto last year. Argos won that game. Calgary won the opener here against Toronto. And there's Johnny Forzani with a catch. Iben the stop, but Johnny Forzani has moved the chains again for the Calgary Stampeders.
A supplementary draft. Johnny Forzani in 2010 had a great training camp, and talking to John Huffnagel, he raved about how well John Forzani played throughout training camp. He didn't drop many. He's got a good grasp of the concepts they're trying to implement in the Calgary offense, and should see a lot of playing time because of it.
13 for Forzani. Stampeders are marching. Burris takes a look and now on a roll, getting chased by rookie Foley, and he'll just throw this one into the seats, into the first row, and that's the first incompletion of the game for Henry Burris.
And an incompletion by choice. He just ran out of target, ran out of room. Ended up with one receiver on that side when he rolled that far, so a fan gets a souvenir and he avoids a mistake.
So it'll be 2nd and 10. There's Dave Dickinson, who is the offensive coordinator this year for the Stampeders. See what he's got called on 2nd and 10 at the 27 of Toronto. Quick hitter over the middle. There's Nick Lewis brought down, and that'll be close to the first down.
Going to be very close. It was a real sheer tackle by Willie Pyle. It was a blitz coming from the linebackers for the Toronto Argonauts. They came after him. Henry Burris read it quickly, and Nick Lewis had to get inside position on Willie Pyle. He jumps it, makes a good clean tackle. And this will be very close.
Nick Lewis 5th in receiving last year, and now number 3 on the all-time Calgary Stampeder receiving list, behind only Alan Pitts and Tom Forzani. Michael Bishop comes into the game in short yardage.
Calgary Stampeders don't want to play Henry Burris on short yardage, so it's Bishop with just a practice or 2.
Wow. Takes the handoff off the left side, and he'll have the first down. Pottinger the tackle, and Michael Bishop is back in the Canadian Football League.
He is, and one thing you know about Michael Bishop is that he's got a cannon for an arm, and he's got a big, big body. So not much of a gamble. You just has to make sure you can get that snap clean from Tim O'Neill, something he's probably worked on at length over the last 48 hours since arriving in Calgary, and he just dives forward.
Said he was staying ready, waiting by the phone. He didn't have his passport updated, so it was a little later getting in. But now the Stampeders look at the 12th play of the drive, and out of the backfield, there's the former Cochrane Cobra, Rob Cote, with the catch out of the fullback spot, and he is knocked out of bounds after a 5-yard gain at about the 12-yard line.
Real controlled, conservative play for Calgary to get good production on first down. Even when you're down inside the 20-yard line, to get into 2nd and 5, Henry Burris is looking at a first down. He just wants to extend the drive before looking into that end zone.
So it's 2nd down, mid-range play, and Kenyon Rambo on second effort may have lost a yard or two as he gets drilled back. And we'll check the spot here. Looks like 3rd down, and the field goal team's got to come on.
I think you're going to be a little short. I know exactly what Dave Dickinson was thinking there. Rather than start to think end zone when you just crack inside that 20-yard line, he wanted to continue to run the offense. That's why we saw Rob Cote out of the backfield. Nice intermediate throw there. Now they're going to be a little short and have to try a field goal attempt. But Dave Dickinson wants to continue to run the offense even though he's inside the 20.
So Rob Maver, after missing from 32, has a 17-yard chip shot. And Maver puts it through. Stampeders up by 4. First quarter in Calgary. Thank you, David. Happy 144th, Canada. We're here at McMahon Stadium, 4-0 Calgary. How about that drive? 15 plays, 91 yards. They take 7:46 off the clock, and yet just settle for 3.
Yeah, and don't really have much momentum out of it. I mean, you want to finish those drives at home to start the season.
Maver to kick off. And here's Chad Owens on the return. Owens up around the 40-yard line, taken out at the Argo bench. Carl McCartney there on the tackle. Remaining here in the first quarter, Glenn, there have been 20 plays in the game, 16 by Calgary. The Argos have had 4, and they trail by only 4. Blake Jackson shaken up on that kick return. And here's the handoff to Corey Boyd. Charleston Hughes rides him down close to the 40-yard line as we set the Argonaut offense for 2011.
We talked about Cleo Lemon. Corey Boyd with 13.59 on the season a year ago. Added 6 touchdowns. There's the receiving corps. Spencer Watt a little nicked. You got Chad Owens out at wide receiver. And then in your offensive line, Rob Murphy at left tackle. Nominee for outstanding lineman last year for the Argonauts.
Starting lineup brought to you by Rhoda, proud sponsor of the CFL and its 8 teams. 2nd and 6, Cleo Lemon out of the pocket, steps up and dives to the 50-yard line and should be close to the first down.
He's pulled it down a couple of times early in this game and seems to be having a little bit of an issue reading the defense and getting the ball out of his hands in a hurry there, something that Jim Barker thought throughout the preseason he did very well, saying that it looked like that was the greatest improvement, his recognition of defense from last year and his ability to get rid of the football on time and quick, a little bit quicker than he did a year ago. He's also healthy this year, that throwing hand surgically repaired that he played with at the end of last season.
And a chain link cord too short, so it's going to be 3rd down. Jim Barker says he wants to see a better pass percentage from Lemon this year. Last season, 61.7. Wants more of a deep attack than a season ago, and like to see him use his feet a little bit more, and we saw it on that last play that comes up just short of the first down. So the jumbo team in for the Argos on 3rd and inches. And Lemon and pushing behind Dominic Picard. Cedric Gagne-Marcoux will have the first down against that Calgary defense.
Let's take a look at that defense and look at the starting lineup for Calgary. Up front, you got Clay Brooks, Corey Mace in the interior of that defensive line. Then you go back into the linebacking court, Juwan Simpson, 71 tackles on the year, the middle linebacker spot. Malik Jackson, a little nicked. We'll get an update on his status. And there's the secondary without Brandon Browner or Dwight Anderson on the corners. Jeff Tisdale and Greg Fawcett took those jobs, and Malik Jackson will get an update on his health because he was a little nicked on his special teams a couple plays ago.
Second-year linebacker Carl McCartney is in, and Lemon gets that away, and Chad Owens down the sidelines, bounced out at the 41-yard line. He took a heck of a jolt at the end of that play, but Nick Lewis will help him up.
Boy, did he ever, man. And one that was, it looked like could have been unnecessary, but you got to give Chad Owens a little credit here. Maybe he gets an extra half a foot or something right here. He could have stepped out of bounds, chose not to, took a big hit, and got another half a yard. A player, Chris, that when you watch him with the football in his hands, everybody in the park here in Calgary gets a little uneasy, and in Toronto, up on their feet, because he can take it to the house in one play.
18 yards and a first down for the Argos at the Calgary 40. And here is Corey Boyd trying the right side. And not much there on the final play of the opening quarter at McMahon. Stampeders with the lead. Well, the numbers after 15 minutes would give you the impression it should be more than 4-0 for the Calgary Stampeders.
Yeah, that's what's interesting about these numbers. Look at the time of possession. Big time in Calgary's favor. Also the number of offensive plays, and yet they haven't been able to get any momentum from that offensive dominance because it's happened in between the 30s and haven't been able to finish those drives. So Toronto hangs around, and as a road team, Chris, that's what you want to do on the road. You want to hang around so that you can finish strong.
And not surprising, this Argo defense has always been one of those bending defenses, gives up a lot of yards, but as we've mentioned, the fewest points in the league last year.
Yeah, no question. So it's playing right into their hand, the road team. Now we want to see again, and I know a lot of Argonaut fans would like to see Cleo Lemon start to get that passing game going. Everyone talking about how confident he looked throughout the preseason. Well, we have to see it now in the regular season.
Chad Owens has been his favorite target so far in this game, whereas you saw on the graphic that Henry Burris has already utilized most of his weapons. But the Argos have something going here. They have a 2nd down and 7 at the Calgary 38. Out of the shotgun, pressure on to the flat, and there's Boyd out of the backfield, and he's pushed out as Corey Mace and Justin Phillips both on the scene for the Stampeders, limiting the gain.
A play like that from Cleo Lemon, he's got to get the football to Corey Boyd in a hurry, because that will give Boyd the chance to turn around and do what he does best, which is make people miss or run over them in the open field. It waited a little too long. Corey Boyd ran out of room, and the play is not going to be successful because of it.
Argos working into the wind here in the second quarter, so they will not try a long field goal. Instead, Noel Prefontaine, the left footer, with a line drive that'll bounce down inside the 10-yard line. It'll be a 5-yard no yards penalty as Taylor is swarmed at the 8. Welcome back to McMahon as we check in on the sidelines tonight. Sarah Orleski.
Well, Chris, we know that there have been some marquee departures for the Calgary Stampeders, but one area that John Hufnagel really wanted to bolster this offseason was his special teams, and specifically his coverage teams, as well as his return game. And to that end, the team signed 2009 CFL Special Teams Player of the Year, Larry Taylor. And the hope is that finally they have found that marquee returner. Last year, they did not have a single kick returned for a touchdown. When I asked John Hufnagel if he felt that they had finally made that step with the acquisition of Taylor, he said, well, I certainly hope so. Now, so with Chad Owens and Taylor in the game, there's a potential for a lot of big plays here. As a side note, an injury update with Malik Jackson. We saw him go to the locker room at the end of the first quarter. He will not return this half. We're hoping to have an update after the half.
Thank you, Sarah. There's a big play for one of the Calgary stretch receivers, Robbie Bryant, 39 yards from Henry Burris.
Yeah, Henry Burris must have looked at that Toronto secondary and thought, this doesn't happen very often, have to take advantage of it, and that's a bust. And the reason for it is that one of the Argos tripped and fell on the play, and that ball just a little underthrown, and Robbie Bryant probably scores. He had 15 touchdowns in 2010.
9 plays of over 30 yards last year for Bryant. Only one time the Argos gave up a 30-yard play against Calgary last year. There's John Cornish taken down by Alex Busby.
15 touchdowns was the deep threat, and Henry Burris talks about his great speed. Robbie Bryant led all in the touchdown department. Terrence Edwards of Winnipeg at 12.
Finished strong with 8 touchdowns in the final 6 games of the regular season for Robbie Bryant. John Cornish lost 3, so it's 2nd and 13 at the Calgary 50. Burris back to pass, dumps it off, and Cornish is dropped inside the Toronto Argonaut 50-yard line. Looks like he'll be a yard, maybe a couple short of the first down. 37 catches for John Cornish a year ago. And again, he operates 1/3 of the offensive series for the Calgary Stampeders.
Yeah, a nominee for the outstanding Canadian for the Calgary Stampeders in 2010, and 7.4-yard rushing average. And what it does is it saves Joffrey Reynolds for late in the season. Takes away a little bit from his totals in rushing and maybe a rushing title here or there, but it will save him and probably add years to his career.
3rd and 2, so Burke Dale's looking for the corner as he angles this punt. And look at that kick. Wow. Back into the end zone, and it's going to be a single point. That's not what he wanted. 5-0 Stampeders.
Preseason game against Winnipeg this year, Cleo Lemon threw for 189 yards, a touchdown and no interceptions. One of the reasons I think his teammates have said that he just looks a lot more comfortable this year than last.
And those numbers in just over a half look good in both preseason starts. 2-0 the Argos were. Play action fake on a roll, looking downfield. Anybody open, and now dumps it off. And that's DJ Bolden, younger brother of NFL star Anquan Bolden, with his first catch on the Argo practice roster late last year and wins a starting job in 2011.
One of those new receivers is going to have to step up for Cleo Lemon to take that next step in the passing game when you're talking about either DJ Bolden possibly or Spencer Watt as a young Canadian receiver. Which one of those receivers are going to complement a guy like Jermaine Copeland, who we haven't talked about yet, or Brandon Rideau?
6 for Bolden, just the 3rd different receiver for Cleo Lemon. Henry Burris has already hit 8 different targets, and Lemon again on 2nd down takes off. And again, he'll be close to a first down. Jawan Simpson, the middle linebacker, brings him down just shy of the 45, and Lemon had to get to the 45-yard stripe.
Well, the thing that I've seen so far in this game is that he's not hesitating to run. That's a good point. He's not trying to, and unsure in that decision. It's a quicker decision than it was last year. He took off up the middle there. He should be very close enough for the Argos to go ahead and try and go. You know, when you talk to Jim Barker about the plans this year, Dalton Bell had a great preseason in 2010, but Jim Barker was going to give the reins completely to Cleo Lemon. Well, once again, Dalton Bell played well in the preseason. Now, he was a little nicked, so they've got to be careful with him with regards to his injury, but Jim Barker has said he would be more willing to go to Dalton Bell this year.
Corey Boyd with a dive across for the first down as the Argos move the chains. Cleo Lemon was 6th among the quarterbacks rushing last year, and you think that he gets more accustomed to the CFL game, that he might be able to be a little more proficient in that area.
Well, you know, when they won games like in Winnipeg in week 2, for instance, he threw for 162 yards and no touchdowns, and they won in other ways with defense and special teams. In the BC game, when he threw for 222 in their 3rd win, that was the Byron Parker interception that took all the headline.
First down out of the gun, has time, and has Brandon Rideau is into Calgary territory, dropped at the Stampeder 50-yard line. There's a first down of the first catch of the year for Brandon Rideau in his 2nd season, 10 game starts last year with the Boatmen.
Well, here's what I like about what Cleo Lemon did here. He scanned the defense, takes a snap here. Now freeze it there, guys. See how he just quickly looked that direction first. Now he's looking there, and watch where he's going to throw. He's going to throw in that direction there. So now he's reading the defense, finding the curl, the open area. Nice throw and catch.
Tackle on the play made by Jeff Tisdale. And now back into the hands of Chad Owens. He'll step out at the Calgary 44-yard line, close to 6 for Chad Owens, who's been the favorite target, his 3rd catch of the game.
With Cleo Lemon in the back, or excuse me, with Corey Boyd in the backfield with Cleo Lemon, it gives this offense the opportunity to do a lot of the things that the Calgary Stampeder offense will do. We'll see a little bit of that read and react type of play where he can ride the stomach of Corey Boyd and take it or give it to him. The same type of weapon, because both quarterbacks and Burris and Lemon can run, and they both got great running backs behind.
2nd and 4. Handoff Boyd left side, and he'll crash inside the 40. And another first down for the man who was 2nd in the league in running last year, voted the toughest player in the league by fellow players.
Yeah, and this is exactly what I'm talking about here, that run where you're going to see Lemon just hold it for a second and he continues out. And when Lemon now, he gives it to Boyd on this short yardage right through the middle. He cuts back to the left, but he continues on. That's going to hold the defensive ends on the outside because Lemon has the capabilities of running and getting that first down himself.
Boyd 20 yards later this year, 20 pounds later. Oh, there's the handoff, and Jeff Johnson's got it. And a carry. We check that Andre Dury with the run, and he's inside the 30-yard line, and Cleo Lemon took a hit.
Well, Milton Collins maybe got away with one here. A little bit of a late hit. He's going to come off the edge here on Cleo Lemon. The ball is handed off to Andre Dury there, and watch the hit. He's lucky he stayed right in the midsection. It was a little bit late, and he didn't get low to draw the penalty flag.
So Andre Dury's first touch of the ball, close to a first down, requiring a measurement. The hybrid in that Argo backfield, who became a real dangerous weapon for Jim Barker last year with 54 catches.
Yeah, I can see Andre Dury being used in a lot of different ways, and then when you add the combination of he and Chad Owens that Jim Barker could move around, now it's awful tough to roll your defense to one guy or the other.
2nd and inches, and maybe a free play for Cleo Lemon. They'll hand it off, and Corey Boyd with a hurdle, and down inside the 20-yard line. And Corey Boyd with one of his best runs so far. Mentioned he's 20 pounds lighter, said he might be running around people more than running over them this season.
Yeah, and a wise decision. I mean, we all know he can run over somebody. He has the power to just lower his shoulder, but in order to stay on the field for the entire regular season and into the playoffs, should the Argos make it, he's got to try and go around some guys as well.
Good looking drive for the Argos, an 11-yard pickup for Boyd. It's a first down at the 18. Lemon to throw, and he's looking for Rideau over his shoulder. What a catch! Touchdown! Cleo Lemon on the money, and Brandon Rideau brings it down.
Well, first of all, tremendous throw and catch. Cleo Lemon puts this up and over the top where it's going to just drop into the bucket, into Brandon Rideau's hands. But how he was able to look over his shoulders and have that fall into the outside shoulder when he was looking inside to begin with on that route, amazing catch by Brandon Rideau. He made it look easy. It wasn't easy.
A little bit of Willie Mays there, wasn't it? Brandon Rideau, with one touchdown last year, has one in the season opener. Prefontaine the extra point. Argos have the lead here in Calgary.
Take a look at that Brandon Rideau touchdown. There he is right there working one-on-one on Jeff Tisdale. We talked off the top, the Calgary Stampeders do not have Brandon Browner or Dwight Anderson. They're all-star corners in the lineup this year. That's Jeff Tisdale in the one-on-one. They want to play aggressively in that bump and run, but Brandon Rideau with a great shake and bake at the line gets him behind him.
18-yard touchdown, and here's Larry Taylor fielding the kickoff up across the 25. And he's down to the 35-yard line. The Argos with a 9-play, 75-yard drive that took just over 5 minutes off the clock.
Chris Jones does not want to change his defensive style, which is in your face, man-to-man. Now, he doesn't have the same type of athletes. Jeff Tisdale's up there. He's had a good training camp, but is he Brandon Browner is the question. And you can see in the bump and run, Brandon Rideau gets him behind him on this one. But what a throw and catch. That's an easy-looking catch. It was very difficult.
So all the statistical edge that Calgary amassed in the first quarter goes from naught. They now trail here in the second quarter, 7-5. Henry Burris goes to work, dumps it off. There's Cote, flag down. And Lin J. Shell with the tackle on Cote. Looks like this is coming back. Murray Clark is the referee tonight.
Tripping. Calgary number 59. 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
That's the left guard, Steve Middleton, with the rare tripping call, the native of Barrie, Ontario. And the only offensive line starter for John Hufnagel from last year's Western Final, with Supas and Harrison Hurt, Ben Archibald in BC, and Rob Lazio, the President's Ring winner for the Calgary Stampeders, retiring. Our congratulations to Rob for a terrific CFL career. Early movement there as Stanley Bryant, the right tackle, moved prematurely. And that'll back up the Stamps again.
Legal procedure. Calgary number 62. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
And that is Stanley Bryant, a very young offensive line, as you mentioned. No Demetrius Sumpas, a guy that's a veteran of 4 years. He's injured and won't be available for a couple of games. So a very young group up front. Other than Tim O'Neill, they're all averaging right around 25 years old.
And none started opening day last year against the Toronto Argonauts. Another starter not here, retired Dan Comiskey. Another one of the Hoggies who had a great CFL career. So second and long, Burris steps up and look out, he's taken down. And the tackle is made by the newcomer, Claude Roten, who was a former member of the St. Louis Rams and a third-round draft choice in the National Football League.
Played his college ball at Louisiana State. Was drafted in the 3rd round by St. Louis in 07. Missed the 08 year. Played in the UFL as well. And when the Toronto Argonauts saw this guy in a free agent camp, they basically said, this guy we got to wait for. He's got that great explosive first step and gets in the backfield on that play.
Let's find out what Dave Dickinson has in the playbook for 2nd and 32. A 3-man rush for the Argos. Lots of time, and Burris into the flat. Kenyon Rambo makes the first man miss and then steps out of bounds well short of the first down at the Calgary 26.
Yeah, the plan on 2nd and 32 is to get your punter a little bit room to kick it away.
And don't make any mistakes.
But that's what happens when you're early on in a game in the first quarter. We talked about those stats and the numbers where Dave Dickinson's group had over 10 minutes of time of possession but couldn't finish drives. So they're not getting momentum from that time of possession. And all of a sudden, quickly, Toronto strikes back. A nice throw to Brandon Rideau. They've got the lead. Now they take it.
Owen's back. He had a 90-yard touchdown return against Calgary in the season opener last year. Fields this at the 31 along the sidelines, and he gets nailed by John Cornish right in front of the Argo bench. John Cornish with a wallop.
Well, that's a couple of times I've seen, and again, you applaud Chad Owens for the toughness to not want to run out of bounds when he's that close to the boundary, but does he really need to take this hit? A good move here. He's right on the boundary, basically had 1 foot out of bounds anyway. Or it looked like he was close to having that right foot out of bounds and takes a hit he probably didn't have to.
53-yard punt by Burke Dales, who led the CFL in that department. And Owens bounces up and is in this offensive set for the Argos, who start at their 40-yard line. Play action fake to Boyd, pressures on from Charleston Hughes, and Cleo Lemon throws it away.
Take a look at the offseason, what brought for the Toronto Argonauts and the changes in their lineup from a 9-9 team a year ago. Not a lot.
That's
Stephen
a short
Giles,
list.
That is. Stephen Giles on the 9-game injured.
Chad Cackert made the team in the final minute of the second preseason game when he ran for 73 yards and a winning touchdown against the Bombers. James Kwame, a draft choice.
We already talked about Claude Roten, and he replaces in the interior of that defensive line Adriano Bellic.
Yes, a little quieter without Adriano. Here's Cleo Lennon. That center screen is snuffed, broken up. And Brandon Isaac, the new Sam linebacker for the Stampeders, with the defensive play.
Talk about some of the new players for the Calgary Stampeders. We've mentioned those corners. There's on the right column, Brandon Browner and Dwight Anderson, both gone. Anderson in Montreal, Browner in the National Football League. Tisdale and Fawcett will replace them on the corners. Tons of changes for a team that won 13 games, more than any in the Canadian Football League last year.
So Prefontaine gets set to kick. Taylor's back. Prefontaine into the wind. Pretty good boot. Taylor back at his 28. Not much room there, and he is wise to just step out. A 42-yard punt into the wind for Noel Prefontaine. I'd like to welcome listeners of TSN Radio 1050 in Toronto and viewers on the NFL Network watching tonight's game.
13th season for Henry Burris. He's on a streak of 58 games played, his 59th in a row. Since his last injury back in 07. And I know everyone in Calgary watching is knocking on wood to keep that streak alive. Because behind him, it's interesting.
Here's Joffrey Reynolds back to work on the ground. And he's taken down. Willie Pyle steps up from his safety spot to get in on the tackle.
Well, this is where this Calgary offense starts. It starts with Joffrey Reynolds or John Corners if he happens to be in the rotation in the backfield. But it starts with that first down success, 4, 5, 6 yards, but also the play action opens up once they establish Joffrey Reynolds. In the first quarter, when Reynolds was having some success, they were moving the ball.
Should be the final play before the 3-minute warning. R.J. Franklin checks back in, 2nd and 6. Here comes the rush, and the pass is just out of the reach of Robbie Bryant, who couldn't pull that one off his shoe tops. 3-minute warning here at McMahon. Header.
A win where Kevin Glenn pulled in that game with it in the balance.
Burke Dales with a blast, and it's Chad Owens from his 19. Got through the first wave and then gets drilled across the 30-yard line. And Chad Owens, who's taken a few heavy hits, is not getting up this time.
He has taken, that's the third big, huge hit that Chad Owens has taken. And this one, he had no choice. He was right up the middle, and the sideline not close, and he just lowers his shoulders. He sees it coming, and I believe it was Cornish again.
It's John Cornish again. Wow. That ball popped loose, but they ruled Owens down.
It was almost as the impact not only with John Cornish, but with that of the ground as well.
Well, he was rated #1 on Dwayne Ford's top 10 list of Canadians. And John Cornish has made an impact in his career on special teams, and he has certainly emphasized that so far tonight. And Chad Owens continues to get attention. And now Owens to his feet. That's good to see. But the Flying Hawaiian has been grounded, at least for the time being.
Looks like he's trying to get his bearings. And if it is anything to do with the head and whether or not he is woozy there, they'll have to go through an entire concussion protocol. Something that's been established by the Canadian Football League this year to make sure that players aren't put back on the field too early if there's any concern or any possibility of a concussion.
Boy, he's taken some punishment in less than 30 minutes of football tonight. 5'8", 180 pounds, and a multifaceted threat for Jim Barker is on the bench.
A challenge.
And now a challenge has come from the Calgary bench. That ball popped loose, and we wondered about it initially. Looked like, from our vantage point and the couple of glimpses we had, that ball did come out late. But John Hufnagel wants another look here. Knee down, and doesn't seem like the ball's loose yet.
Well, it looks like it's in his right arm there. Hasn't touched the ground. There's the knee.
Calgary is challenging the ruling on the field that the ball carrier was down by contact. We'll review the play.
Now the rule was no fumble. It was just after the contact and the fact that I believe it was after Chad Owens hit his head on the ground as well. He still has possession of the ball there. His head hits the ground there. And then the ball comes out.
That looks very late.
I think the call on the field will stand.
So we'll see if the command center has a different opinion. Looks like this should still be Argo football with 2.5 minutes remaining in the first half.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. Ball carrier was down by contact. First down.
Quickly assessed. And Cleo Lemon and the Argos offense will go to work with 2.5 minutes to go here in this first half. After that impressive touchdown drive, capped by the 18-yard catch from Brandon Rideau, who had a terrific training camp last year, but really didn't carry it over. Had a tough time adjusting in his first season in the CFL, as did Cleo Lemon. At the 33, a handoff inside, and Boyd just across the 35.
I haven't talked about it all yet. Jermaine Copeland, a go-to guy last year until he was injured, and Copeland on the all-time list, 22nd overall, just shy of 10,000 yards. A former Calgary Stampeder, former Montreal Alouette, and now a Toronto Argonaut, and a guy that can be relied on and counted on, and did not, I believe I read that throughout the preseason and training camp, Jermaine Copeland dropped one pass. Still has it.
3,000-yard seasons here in Calgary. Moved across to Toronto along with Jim Barker. Second down, flag down, up top it goes, and off the fingertips of the intended target, Jermaine Copeland. The first time his number's been called in this game.
Yeah, and he almost comes up with a one-handed catch after I talked about him in training camp. I think he was about 4 or 5 yards offside, though. Unless someone on that Calgary defense jumped
Offside.
and pulled him.
Corner number 80.
Yeah.
That penalty's declined. Third down.
Our condolences to Jermaine, who lost his father, Donald, during the offseason and is dedicated this year in the memory of his late father.
Ball hasn't been snapped. He's 1, 2, 3 yards over the line of scrimmage, trying to work that rub and get down the sideline.
So Prefontaine to kick it away. The heat was on from Eric Fraser. And here's Taylor from his 28. And Larry Taylor with a good return, straight ahead. And Jeff Johnson will bring him down at the 51-yard line. Another Argo has been shaken up on the play. 46-yard punt, 19 on the return for Larry Taylor. And that's the middle linebacker, Jason Pottinger, having difficulty getting up. So 2 key men for the Argos have been injured in short order.
I'll take a look at Jason Pottinger. It looks like his left leg, he seems to be in some pain. You see Larry Taylor and now Chad Owens on the sideline. You have the two outstanding special teams players in the last 2 years. Last year, Chad Owens, outstanding special teams player, and the year before that, it was Larry Taylor. Both guys that were in Montreal. Good news is for Argo fans, it looks like Chad Owens is up and moving around, and he'll be assessed, I'm sure, again at halftime. Make sure he's fine and there's no concussion possibilities. And there's Larry Taylor, again, a guy who had a chance to go back to Montreal, and Mark Trestman decided to stay with Tim Maypray there, and a guy who was with them before the return of Larry Taylor after his 09 year, as Sarah mentioned earlier, where he was the outstanding special teams player. So those are guys you have to watch on every single punt. We hope that Chad Owens gets back in this game in the second half. You know, if you can describe what happened on the hit,
yeah,
you're starting to feel better, and that looks like what Chad Owens is doing right now.
Of course, if he's telling them on the sidelines that he's playing at Rogers Center, that's not a good sign. Well, Jason Pottinger now is the focus of attention as he has gotten to his feet. Take another look at what happened to the veteran middle linebacker of the Argos.
Looked like a huge hit, but he's going down the field here on this kick coverage team. And watch how it looked like his ankle just rolled.
Yeah, the right ankle or knee seemed to give there.
Buckled a little bit, yeah.
Former Stampeder Tristan Black comes in at the middle linebacker spot for Pottinger. Good field position for Henry Burris around midfield. Nick Lewis has the catch at midfield, and Evan McCullough stands him up and then gets support from his teammates as Lewis moves it just into Argo territory at the Toronto 53-yard line. 6-yard pickup. Burris going no huddle here with 96 seconds to go in the first half. Short drop fakes, and now over the middle, and that's incomplete, intended for Rambo, and that was thrown into a dangerous area, and Burris had pressure coming from Kevin Huntley.
Boy, you can do a lot of things defensively if you can get pressure with 4. And Henry Burris now in this second quarter is seeing a lot of pressure, whether it be Claude Roten or Kevin Huntley in the middle. They're getting a good push, reestablishing the line of scrimmage back in the backfield against this young offensive line for Calgary, and it's making it very difficult for Henry Burris all of a sudden.
So 4th consecutive punt for the Stampeders. And the Argos are going to get the ball back with just under 90 seconds to go, and going to be a time count violation.
Time count violation. Calgary number 16. 10-yard penalty. Repeat, 3rd down.
There was a late Calgary Stampeder getting on the field. And if you play a man short when you're going to punt the football, that's how you get it blocked. So
Suits without Chad Owens available. Byron Parker has dropped back as the return man for the Argonauts. Byron 20 pounds lighter this year, bulked up last year for a bid to make the NFL's Philadelphia Eagles, and when he came back thought he was a little heavier and sluggish. Here's his first touch at the 20. Line drive, he got away, outside, breaks a tackle, and Byron Parker up near midfield. Well, that's a nice return for Byron Parker. 30 yards after a 37-yard kick by Burke Dales.
And I was tracking John Cornish the whole way down the field there because he's made and done some damage in this cover team for Calgary. And Chad Owens is the reason he's on the sideline is because of Cornish. And that time Byron Parker got outside of that gunner in John Cornish. A real nice run. Byron Parker's just a good athlete all around. I mean, a guy who can dunk a basketball, can play corner, probably play quarterback if you asked him.
Has played receiver, caught a touchdown pass in Montreal a few years ago. Argo set up at the 50, Cleo Lemon to work, and he wants to go deep. Downfield, and Bolden unable to make the catch. Or is that Andre Dury? Excuse me, Andre Dury was the intended target.
Well, that ball hung up there a little bit for Cleo Lemon. Andre Dury had to kind of gear it down and in pursuit. I believe it was Brandon Isaac who kept with it and got its second chance. It was Brandon Isaac from the linebacker spot. Because that ball hung up there and Drury tried to catch it around his midsection, if he goes up and reaches for that ball, he might win the battle on Brandon Isaac.
So it's 2nd and 10. Jim's Kwame into the game, draw play, and Corey Boyd is across midfield. Flag away from the play, and Boyd still going down to the Calgary 35-yard line, but this one may be coming back. A 25-yard romp for Corey Boyd, but Murray Clark.
Holding. Corner number 56. 10-yard penalty. Repeat, 2nd down.
Well, that's the All-Star left tackle, Rob Murphy, and that one hurts.
Guy who avoided penalties last year. And according to the coaching staff, did not give up a sack in 2010 from his side.
Top Argo offensive lineman. Voted the nastiest player by his peers.
And that's why I talked about the not getting too many penalties last year, trying to control that.
Well, that's a net loss of 35, 10 yards back after the 25-yard pickup. But We'll call the same play with a different result as Corey Boyd is stopped quickly. Devon Claybrooks, the tackler for the Calgary Stampeders, and it'll be third down here in the final minute.
Yeah, it could be a costly penalty for the Argos on Rob Murphy there. That was a big gainer, some momentum there for the Argos. We're in field goal range with that run from Corey Boyd that came all the way back. Now a punt and a quick return here by Larry Taylor, and the Stamps may have time to put some points on the board before the half.
And it was on the backside of the run, which might frustrate the Argos even more, as Prefontaine gets set to kick it away.
Free up as much time as he can and limit the time, and then call the timeout to limit the time that Henry Burris would have with the ball.
Toronto. Timekeeper, please reset the clock to 34 seconds.
So they run it down to 34.
A little more challenging for Noel Prefontaine on this part of the field as well, because he doesn't want to kick it out of bounds here, get a penalty, because he's not going to be able to kick it hard enough to get it inside the 20 from where he is. So he can't kick it straight out of bounds. He wants to keep it away from Larry Taylor. Just a little more pressure on the punter.
The wind has diminished in the Argos' faces here in the second quarter. Prefontaine to set downfield. It'll hit the turf and bounce on the hop to Taylor at the 28. Trying to find a crease, and he's brought down by Xander Robinson at the 35-yard line.
Now, is it just me, and I know it's early, but this Calgary offense with the weapons that they have across the board look real sluggish all of a sudden. I know the numbers percentage-wise for Henry Burris don't look that bad. 150 yards is sort of just above average for him, but I think the expectation from Dave Dickinson much higher than what we've seen in this first half when you consider the talent that's out there.
First two series they looked sharp, but came away with only 4 points. And now the draw play for Reynolds, and he is wrestled down. That front four has had a terrific first half for the Toronto Argonauts. That time, Ronald Flemmons, who was the top Argo defensive player last year. You've got Roten, who's made noise. So the rookie, Kevin Huntley, an Eastern All-Star. Ricky Foley, who has led this league in sacks. That's a good-looking front four for the Argonauts.
Well, I mentioned it allows you on passing downs to rush with 4 and do a lot of different combinations in the back end, in the secondary, and the linebacking core. It's also tough to run against a defensive line like that.
So it's 2nd and 12, and the Stampeders are just going to kill the clock here and regroup. That's a good road half for the Argos, and the fans here at McMahon show a little displeasure with the lack of fireworks here on Canada Day. 7-5 Toronto.
Brandon Rideau, this is a guy who was kind of fighting for his job in the preseason, but he makes the team and he scores Toronto's first touchdown of the season. It is the only touchdown of this ball game, game 2 of our Friday Night Football doubleheader on Canada Day. Get your flags up.
I got it, Dave.
Say happy birthday.
I got it, Dave.
You got it? Happy birthday, Canada. Hope you're enjoying Canada Day and enjoying our doubleheader here on what has been a very physical day of football. We saw some hellacious hits in the first game in Hamilton. A couple of guys left that game, and now concern has certainly got to be around Jay Pottinger of the Argos and Chad Owens, who took a couple of hits from Rideau's old Kansas teammate, John Cornish. But it is Calgary's offense right now. This is an offense that averaged just under 35 points a game last year, Schultze, and that Toronto defense has held them to 5 on their own field in their home opener.
2 great stories for the Toronto Argonauts. First, for that defense, Calgary scored 626 points over the course of the season. So the challenge in this game was the Toronto defense. Could they slow down the Calgary offense? Well, they've done more than slow them down. No touchdowns given up in that half. Remember, the Argos were #1 in fewest points allowed. They're picking up from last year. The second story, Cleo Lemon. He's a better athlete right now than maybe in his entire career as a quarterback. Just look, his nice mobility, the way he moves. He moves with confidence. He has a decisiveness about him, a dependence on his athletic ability that he did not have last year. That used to be a frustrating play where Cleo never made his mind up to run. He always hesitated. And his arm strength looks good there, but his touch on this touchdown pass to Rideau puts it where the receiver can only catch it. Cleo Lemon looked good in the first exhibition game. He looked better better in the second exhibition game, and he's making some plays right now, and it looks good for the Toronto Argonauts.
I agree, Chris. He looks like a different quarterback out there. He's fun to watch. Guys, I want to talk about the guy who finished number 11 on our TSN's top 50 players in the CFL, and that's Chad Owens. You know, he's taken some huge hits, but I want to point out something, and that is the fact that there are some hits that you take that you just can't be avoided, and there are other hits that you've got to learn to just step out of bounds. And that is an unnecessary hit right there by Chad Owens. You know, he's not going to be number 11 on our list next year if he keeps getting knocked out of football games because he doesn't want to step out of bounds. This is unnecessary. He's getting about half a yard here. On this punt return, he decided to knife it up the middle, right into the heart of the punt cover team, and takes another big hit there that put him out of the football game. Do you guys remember Stephon Jones? He was an all-star receiver that I played with back in the early 90s.
I played with him.
That's right. And in my second year, he came up to me when I did that kind of stuff, and he said, if you want to have a long career, you'll cut that out, and you'll step out of bounds. And he was absolutely right. Somebody needs to do that for Chad Owens because he's far too valuable to be taking those hits.
I want to talk a little bit about the first game that we saw, 24-16. Winnipeg comes back to win on the road in Hamilton. Their first road win since 2009. And a part of the story is that Hamilton's offense went stone cold in the second half. Kevin Glenn's numbers, 18-31, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. All 3 of them in the second half, including one that was taken back for a touchdown that was the game winner. Kevin Glenn was pulled in the fourth quarter. He was not happy after the game. What did you think about it, Matt?
I loved the frustration shown from Kevin Glenn. I've been there. Believe me, I've been there. I've been in worse situations. I've put my team behind much more than that, and I desperately did not want to get pulled from the game. As a 10, 11-year starter, you want the chance to bring your team back. Look, if this is his team, let him play through these situations. This, to me, is one of those scenarios that could definitely backfire in the locker room. Now, granted, Quentin Porter had a fantastic training camp. A lot of talk about Quentin's training camp and how he got it and settled down and played big. But if he's your starter going in, first game out of the chute, you pull him going in when things are getting tight. They're only down 20-16 at the time. I really believe that this is going to be causing some problems. But I'm glad to see Kevin Glenn show some frustration because I'd be frustrated, too, being pulled in the first game of the season.
I agree with you, Matty. I don't often agree with you when it comes to that because I don't mind having quarterbacks being pulled.
I've been down
but not week 1.
3 touchdowns going in the fourth quarter, and you still got a chance.
Not week 1.
Meantime, it's the Argonauts who play their first 3 games of the season on the road, and 4 of their first 5 are away from home, and they got themselves a 2-point lead in Calgary. Here, and he just spoke with Sarah Orleski.
Jim, we saw 2 marquee players in Chad Owens and Jay Pottinger go down in that first half. Can you give us any sort of update on them?
Well, we think they're both going to be all right. We'll go in at halftime and see, but, you know, you never know until they get in there and let the doctors work on them. And they lost some players, too, so it's you know, you can't lose guys. You hate that in the first game, but onward we move.
There's been so much talk about the improved play of Cleo Lemon through training camp, through the exhibition games. Did you feel as if you were seeing it again in that first half?
Oh, there's no question. I thought he did a good job. He protected the football, got us into some good situations, and he'll play better the second half.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks.
Calgary has won 7 of the last 10 meetings between these two, but it is Toronto with a 2-point lead going into the third quarter. Brian Mudryk is here with a little Sports Center update and free agent frenzy news. Any news there to report?
It's the Rona Canada Day weekend kickoff from McMahon Stadium, 7-5 in favor of the Argos as we get set for the third quarter. But first, Sarah Orleski with Coach John Hufnagel.
John, where will you miss Malik Jackson the most?
Well, I mean, he's a key part of our defense and our special teams play. But, you know, we're finding out right now with the concussion test, hopefully it's not too serious.
We saw the offense have difficulty getting anything going in that second quarter, really. Was it a frustrating quarter for you on the sidelines?
Well, it's a bit, just because, you know, the penalties really hurt us, and we had some opportunities. We need to take advantage of those opportunities and, you know, get more points on the board here in the second half.
Thank you.
Was a hard-hitting first half of play. It took its toll as John Hufnagel updates you on Malik Jackson, Chad Owens, and Jason Pottinger injured for the Toronto Argonauts in the first 30 minutes.
The frustration he's talking about offensively is in that first quarter, Henry Burris had moved the ball quite well between the 30s, but they couldn't finish their drives, and then had some penalty issues and maybe some protection issues in the second quarter. Henry Burris had a lot of pressure in his face, largely just from the front 4 of the Toronto Argonauts.
This will be an interesting quarter for the Calgary Stampeders. Their best quarter of the year last year was the third quarter. They were a dominant team, outscoring their opponents 140-60. The 60 points allowed, the fewest by any team in any quarter last year. So you know that staff is good at making adjustments. They're going to get the football first as Grant Shaw kicks off the second half, and he drills the kickoff. Taylor had trouble with it and has to retrieve it back at the 1. And now trying to dance to the 20, fumbled the football, and the Argos say they've got it. Let's wait for the official. And it looks like Toronto does have it. Anthony Cannon came out of that pile, and he was definitive, but still, now Murray Clark says it's Toronto Argonaut football.
Amazing how many times this happens to a returner when they put the ball on the ground after the timing is off on a kick that goes deep here. Larry Taylor has problems corralling it in the first place, and then it's stripped there by Willie Pyle.
Hard to see who was at the bottom of the pile. But not much question, number 10 made the initial strip of the football. And that's not the way John Hufnagel wanted to drop the start of the second half. It's the Argos with a first down at the Calgary 19-yard line. And on a roll, here's Cleo Lemon, bowled in the flat, and he has drilled. Keon Raymond was in his hip pocket and drops him. Maybe a gain of a yard on the play for DJ Bolden.
Calgary Stampeders going to stick with their philosophy. Chris Jones loves to play this bump and run style right here, especially down in their own end of the field. And we've seen Cleo Lemon go up over the top to Brandon Rideau once for a touchdown in that type of defense. We'll see if they give him the same look here on second down.
So second and 9. Boyd sets up to the right of Lemon out of the gun. Short drop. And into the same spot he hooked up with Brandon Rideau for the touchdown, but this time nobody there for the Argos, and it will be third down.
Well, once again, you've got bump and run coverage, and Cleo Lemon wanted a straight go route from his receivers, and he didn't get it. They decided to read it on the fly. Kwame just broke off his route. This is the top side, but you see that bump again, and he's got bump and run across the board. That's why Cleo Lemon wants to go deep. The receivers changed their routes midstream, and that ball goes incomplete. He's lucky he didn't get it picked off.
So Prefontaine from 24 yards out. He puts it through, and the Larry Taylor fumble costs Calgary 3. Winnipeg wins in Hamilton.
And last night, Montreal beat the BC Lions in Game 1 of 2011.
We'll check in to Regina on Sunday for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Edmonton Eskimos. Here's Larry Taylor trying to make amends, and he spun down at about the 30-yard line, and that's where the Calgary Stampeders go back to work on offense for the first time in this second half.
You know, when you look at his numbers, completing 80% of his passes at 150, a lot of that 150 yards coming in the first 2 series of the game that didn't finish in majors. In fact, one finished in a missed field goal. So just 4 points out of those good drives early, and then some penalty issues and some blocking issues up front. Dave Dickinson's offense kind of bogged down in that second. Not looking like a team that won 13 games last year.
Henry Burris with the completion, and Johnny Forzani gets drilled by Byron Parker, the wide side corner. Forzani holds on for a short gain. That is the 1999th completion for Henry Burris as a member of the Stamps.
When you're having issues with protection up front, the answer to that, at least early on, is to try and go to the quick game.
So a 4 for Forzani. 2nd and 6. Four-man rush for the Argos, then the heat's on. Burris steps up, takes off, and it's wide open. An open lane down the middle in the MOP of 2010 with a little spike at the end as he is finally dropped at the Argo 40-yard line. Biggest play of the game for Burris on the ground. It's 34 yards.
Well, the great quarterbacks, the quarterbacks that have been outstanding players in the Canadian Football League, when things start to bog down, they take matters into their own hands, and that's what Henry Burris does here. He avoids the tackle of Kevin Huntley, who was very frustrated with himself, and takes off down the middle. And at 36 years old, Henry Burris looks like a quick 26 right there.
Second among quarterbacks in rushing totals last year, behind Darian Durant, 12th in the league. And now under pressure again. This time they do get him. Drop. And Claude Roten's got another big play for the Argos in his first game in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, Roten was there, and I believe Kevin Huntley got in there as well. And when I watched Kevin Huntley at the end of that last Henry Burris run, he was not happy. There's your two interior defensive linemen. Let's just take a look at them head up the field. Good push by Roten, and there's Huntley comes underneath, and they meet at Henry Burris.
It is a sack for Huntley, who had 9 last year and 14 games played for the Argonauts. Playing 30 pounds lighter this year. Second and long into the flat, catch made by Kenyon Rambo, and taken out by the corner, Sean Smalls.
You know, interesting though, this is a team that was a big play team last year. A team that I mentioned had 13 wins in the regular season. Quarterback can make all the throws across the field, and they love that deep ball. They love to go downtown to Romby Bryant, who had 15 touchdowns. Kenyon Rambo. You think of John Hufnagel's offense, look at all the categories offensively that this team led a year ago. Red zone touchdowns. Remember the 2 times in the first quarter they were in the red zone, came away with just 4 points. So it looks like a very different team in this first game.
Here's Rob Maber attempting a 45-yarder, and he misses wide to the left. So Maber has missed 2 in this game, and Andre Dury, is he going to come out? He does turn the corner, and Andre Dury puts his head down and up to the 16-yard line. So Rob Maber's missed a couple in the game. We'd like to again welcome listeners on TSN Radio in Toronto to our CFL on TSN simulcast of this game. A miss from 45 yards out for Rob Maber, who was 3 for 10 outside the 40 last year. Andre Dury brought it out to the 17, and now Corey Boyd straight ahead, trying to push the pile.
I didn't like that decision by Andre Dury, and Corey Boyd keeps fighting for a couple of yards. Didn't go down on that, even though they blew it dead. That decision to run that missed field goal out cost them 18 yards. It's dangerous when you're trying to bubble back like that in your own end zone. Michael O'Shea, I know he encourages with the great athletes they have, whether it be Chad Owens or Andre Dury. Michael O'Shea will encourage him to go out, but I think you're running in a game that you're on the road with the Toronto Argonauts with the lead and control of the game. You give up a point, which really doesn't matter on the scoreboard at this point, and you get the ball on the 35-yard line instead of the 16. I'm not sure if Andre Dury made up that decision on his own or if he got instructions from Michael O'Shea, the special teams coach, but either way, I don't think it was a very good one.
Slight delay here as a couple of folks who have been celebrating a little too heartily Canada Day here at McMahon are being escorted off the field. 2nd and 5, just short of the 5-minute mark of this third quarter. Calgary will be concerned again about the fact that it's been a tough start for their place kicker, Rob Maber, who is coming off an injury, a quad strain that kept him out of the second preseason game. Now the Argos to work on 2nd and 5. And here's Boyd, who bumps it outside, and Corey Boyd has a first down up at the 32-yard line. Corey Boyd, who led the Canadian Football League last year with runs of over 10 yards, and he was 2nd in first down runs with 68.
He's going to read, Corey Boyd, the block of Rob Murphy at left tackle, and he's just going to either bounce it or head it up into the middle, and he sees Murphy tie up his man off the edge, so he takes that first step up into the middle and then bounces it to the outside. So a holding call early on by Rob Murphy, and he makes amends there because Boyd gets first down territory.
10 for Boyd, 10 carries, 50 yards in the game. This time they fake it to Boyd, and there's Andre Dury down the sidelines, and he's bumped out by Keon Raymond. But there's Andre Dury playing in that role that Jim Barker's designed for him that can be very dangerous coming out of the backfield.
And when you have Corey Boyd getting first downs, then that opens up Andre Drury on the play action. Corey Boyd is going to take the fake. That's going to hold the linebacking core just long enough to give Andre Drury a one-on-one on the outside. He gets the corner, and he may be bailing out, help to bail out his decision to run it out of the end zone here, because now they're at midfield, got that field position back.
Back into the hands of Boyd. Claybrooks is there. McCartney steps up. Well, what an impact Corey Boyd made in his first season in the Canadian Football League.
Nominee for the Toronto Argonauts for Outstanding Player. He was All East, and he was the CFL PA All-Star at tailback as well. He had some concussion issues that seem to be behind him now.
6 100-yard rushing games, and he sent a little message to Fred Reed that if he finished the season out, he would have been the rushing champion too. So they've got a little duel going. 2nd and 8, and up top, too far for Jermaine Copeland. The ball falls incomplete, and they've been unable to make that connection so far tonight in Jermaine Copeland's old stomping grounds.
Yeah, but it was a throw that showed you the arm strength of Cleo Lemon to get it to the wide side. And listening to the panel at halftime talk about how they've been impressed with the confidence that Cleo Lemon is showing, and maybe the ball protection and ball security that he's shown so far in this game. Very important.
Prefontaine to kick it away. Larry Taylor waits inside the Calgary 20. Into the wind, and Taylor moves up, grabs it at the 23-yard line, changes direction and comes to the near side, trying to find a seam, and a great tackle on the play, and that's Prefontaine. What an effort by the punter at 37 years of age in his 14th year. Midway through the third quarter, let's check back in with Sarah Orleski.
Well, we've seen some key players for both teams go down this evening. As John Hufnagel said coming out at the half, he said that Malik Jackson was being tested for a concussion. We know that he will not be returning this evening. Also, Chad Owens and Jay Pottinger have not come out since the half. Chad Owens, we are told, is done for the evening. Jay Pottinger is doubtful to return.
Good job. That was a good series.
It's been a slugfest here at McMahon. Henry Burris trying to get this offense kick-started. Play action fake to Cornish, and that one seemed to slip out of his hands. An errant throw well off target, intended for Kenyon Rambo.
You know, when you take a look at this lineup, and I talked about all the talent that Calgary Stampeders have, I'm talking about the skilled positions with their receivers, and Robbie Bryant, Kenyon Rambo, and of course Nick Lewis has been quiet in this game. Now you look to that offensive line, a different story with no Demetrius Sumpas, Edwin Harrison, and no Ben Archibald. It is a young group.
2nd and 10. From the 35-yard line, 6 receivers set, and a quick hitter into the flat. Rambo had a little juggle, then hit out of bounds, but it looks like he's held on for a first down despite the hit from Kevin Iben.
You know, that's a veteran catch by Kenyon Rambo, because it's one that this offense desperately needed for its own psyche. He battles it. It's a low one right off the shoe tops, and he had to come back to backside of the momentum. He was taking him to the sideline. So a veteran catch for Kenyon Rambo.
Of course, he missed the first 4 games last year, still finished 9th in the league in receiving. Had he played at that pace for the entire season, he could have been the top receiver in the league once again. Burris now, and he threw it high, and Robbie Bryant unable to pull it down at the Argo 44.
You know, Henry Burris just on a couple of throws here now. Even the one to Kenyon Rambo, who he battled and got to, has been off. And it just looks to me like he's a little casual in all of his mechanics. Gets out here, he kind of doesn't get his whole hip around and his shoulder around that off shoulder away from his throwing arm. That one sails on him a little bit up high and over the top of Kenyon Rambo, was wide open. And you can't blame the O-line there. He had lots of time to throw.
Always seems to have trouble against the Argo defense, a career record of 8 and 7, 2nd and 10. Pressure, and that pass is off the mark. Intended for Bryant in the flat, and Robbie Bryant shows some frustration.
That's 4 throws in a row here that Burris has just been off. I mean, and even the one that Rambo caught. And Robbie Bryant now getting a little bit frustrated. He does a double move here, and then he's going to come back. Timing off, and the ball just doesn't have a chance.
Sean Smalls in coverage. Brooke Dale's into the game to punt. And again, Byron Parker is back to replace the injured Chad Owens, and he stands at the Argo 10. Had a big return in the first half. First time he touched it. Good angling punt. Back at the 5 for Parker, who slips. And then is dropped at the 10 as Eric Fraser, the Burnaby native, downfield after a 55-yard blast by Dales. Again this year, tackling hunger across Canada, check.
Of course, that was last season. 51 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Get off to win #1 in the regular season in 2011. This year, it's 3-1 Toronto in that category, and all 3 sacks for the Toronto Argonauts in this game by the 2 interior defensive linemen for the Argo. Huntley and Roten.
Roten with the pair in his first game in the Canadian Football League. Now the Argos have to start deep, back at their 10-yard line. And Boyd will try the right side, and he gets tripped up around the 14-yard line.
Of course, the Calgary Stampeders, again, to remind people they're not playing with Malik Jackson, who's left the game with a concussion. So they're in there with Juwan Simpson, Brandon Isaac, who is really just the adjuster. He's out there playing coverage more than anything. Chris Jones has now got to see Juwan Simpson step up and become a leader. That's the question coming into camp for this defense. Which one of these guys is going to be the leader on the group like Brandon Browner was last year?
Simpson, the top defensive player in the West last year. Carl McCartney has taken Jackson's spot. It's 2nd and 6, and out of the backfield, the catch is made by Dury, but a quick tackle by the Sam linebacker. You mentioned Brandon Isaac with a key play for the Stamps on defense.
Yeah, and it is a key play. He tracks him all across the field, and this is usually what happens here. He's in the backfield here, and here's Drury. He's going to slip out this direction, and usually that guy trying to cover him out of there gets caught in the wash. But watch how Brandon Isaac works his way through the back. He keeps himself with depth, is patient, and then closes when the ball is in the air.
Isaac played 15 games for the Stamps last year, just 2 game starts, but has won the starting job this season as the Sam with the extra defensive back for the Stamps. Prefontaine just got it away, and here's Taylor fielding it in Argo territory. Little stutter step, and he's dropped at the 47-yard line. So the Stamps offense, which has been sputtering, gets great field position, a short field here as we get into the late stages of the third quarter. Under 5 minutes to go, and the Calgary Stampeders trailing the Toronto Argonauts by 5.
Get the sense that Henry Burris right now needs to try and push that football down the field. Try and take a shot deep. See if you can get that Argonaut secondary off you a little bit, off your receivers.
They've been spinning their tires looking for a little traction. And it's Reynolds off the left side and nothing doing. Good defensive play there by the Sam linebacker for the Argos, Jordan Younger, the 8-year vet.
Well, Tristan Black has stepped in for Pottinger, and just to the right of your screen here is Jordan Younger, and watch how he plays run defense, reads it nicely. He sees the down block and steps up in that open hole and is right in the backfield. Good, clean tackle. And Joffrey Reynolds.
Now Pottinger's out now, but the start of the game, only Roten was a newcomer to this defense for the one that finished the playoffs last year. 11 returning starters. Here's Burris, and that one intercepted. Tristan Black over the middle grabs the pass from Henry Burris. And the first interception of the season for Burris is a big play by the replacement for Jason Pottinger, Tristan Black.
Well, here's what happens. Tristan Black signs up in the line of scrimmage, and now he's going to look like he's going to come on the blitz and then drop out of here in this direction. As he drops, Henry Burris was looking the other way, doesn't see him drop. He's right underneath the throw, gets great depth in that drop. Often linebackers only get 5 or 6 yards, and the quarterback is able to throw it over top of him. Tristan Black got great depth there. What a pick.
So that's a fumble and an interception. A couple of turnovers in this third quarter for Calgary. Cleo Lemon to work, and he wants to go up top, and Spencer Watt unable to pull that in. Watt without a catch so far in the game.
Well, 2 good series to start the first quarter. He went 7 of 13, 102 yards. didn't come up with any touchdowns, though. Just 4 points out of 2 good drives, and it has been that offense bogged down since then. But there's really no options at this point behind Henry Burris for John Hufnagel. He's going with Burris.
Oh, he's a lot safer than Kevin Glenn, you would think, tonight. 2nd and 10, and that one is picked off. Jeff Tisdale, what a battle against Brandon Rideau. And Rideau will catch him from behind, but Calgary gets it back inside the 20-yard line as they trade interceptions, and the newcomer on the corner, the former Hamilton Tiger Cat, makes a big play.
Well, it looked like Cleo Lemon was unsure here. Brandon Rideau on the sideline gets that bump and run he wants. He's got a touchdown behind Tisdale. Tisdale says, no, I'm going to battle with you here. I think that Cleo Lemon was looking for the throw behind to Brandon Rideau, I'll get it, on his back hip, and he just was not quite decisive enough. It floated in between. Tisdale takes advantage.
So the replacement for Brandon Browner comes up with a big play. Let's see what Burris does with it. 1st and 10, and he gets it in the hands of Rambo, who cuts back into traffic and pays a price as he gets drilled. Evan McCullough finishes it off.
You know, there was a lot of talk for the Calgary Stampeders that they were so proud of the regular season, and should be. They won more games than any other team in the regular season, but that they had to be better at the end. And I'm wondering if maybe the focus was, oh, we'll just kind of take it an easier approach at the beginning and then come on strong later in the season. You still got to win those games to get in the playoffs.
4 yards for Rambo. Remember, this team was blanked at home in their preseason game at McMahon. Stuck on 5 here, a pump, and now Burris delivers. Incomplete. He wanted R.J. Franklin in the end zone. Byron Parker and Willie Pyle in the area.
And you know, when you look at Kenyon Rambo and R.J. Franklin talking to each other after that throw, I wonder if they weren't too close together, that one of them may have run the wrong route, because Henry Burris does get the time. Joffrey Reynolds picks up the blitz, and then he's trying to go down the seam, but you don't often see 2 receivers that close together, 4 or 5 yards, and they got up and had a quick conversation right after it.
Off the fingertips of Franklin, so Maber on to attempt from 21 yards out, and Rob Maber's missed again. What a tough night for Rob Maber, and all they get is 1, and Maber is listening. And again, hearing it from the crowd, but he missed the preseason game with a quad problem, and it looks like he may have rushed it back too soon.
Well, once again this year, every Friday night,
Vernon, serving here in Freetown, Sierra Leone in Operation Sculpture. I'd like to be home for Canada Day with my family in Calgary, Alberta, but the next best thing will be the Canada Day barbecue that we have here in West Africa. Happy Canada Day.
Yes, and once again, on behalf of everyone at TSN, this Friday and every Friday, we'll be saluting our troops. Happy Canada Day to all the men and women of the Canadian Forces, from all of us here at the CFL on TSN. It's their dedication and sacrifice that allows us the freedom to enjoy this weekend, both on and off the field. So thanks to the men and women of the armed forces.
Second that, Corey Boyd pushing for a gain of 5 at the 40. And another missed opportunity for the Stampeders. 3 missed field goals in the game. And they trail by 4. Rob Maber, who got off to such a great start last year.
Looks like he might have that quad wrapped before this game anyway. And struggling big time in a game that has just one major.
Short drop on 2nd down and over the middle. That's a tough catch for Spencer Watt, and a first down as Spencer Watt grabs that one in traffic.
2010 third-round pick, 18th overall, and Spencer Watt, SFU, cuts across the middle, his first catch of the game, and it's a tough one.
He had his coming out party in the final regular season game last year against Montreal. 6 catches, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns, and followed up with 6 more catches in the postseason. That's his first of 2011. Moves the sticks, and now Lemon looks downfield, still looking for Copeland, and pass interference. Brandon Smith taking down Copeland before the ball arrived. That's going to give the Argos a first down inside the Calgary 40-yard line.
Well, and Brandon Smith just did not look back at all to the football, and that's why he's going to be called here.
Calgary number 28. Ball spotted at the point of the foul. First down.
Jermaine Copeland gets that outside shoulder because he's going to break to the outside on that corner route, and Brandon Smith runs through him before he glances back.
Tough call because he had great coverage, and it didn't look like there was any way Lemon could complete the pass, but a pretty obvious pass interference penalty gives the Argos a first down at the Stamp 35. Again, Corey Boyd, and he's got a lot of room. Open road, foot race, and Boyd dragged down at the 2. A touchdown saving tackle on the final play of the opening quarter. But the Argos with a 4-point lead, and they're threatening to increase it on that romp of 33 yards up the middle by Corey Boyd. In their lead as we get set for the fourth quarter.
Well, when you look at the right column for the Calgary Stampeders, you have to put that on the Argo defense, doing a good job, even in some sudden change situations, to limit that offense for Calgary. And Corey Boyd, the star for this Argonaut offense last year, is stepping up now just shy of 100 yards rushing.
You know, this is a familiar story. Here's 96 passing yards for the Argos through 3 quarters. Cleo Lemon's not lighting it up, but here they are in a position where they could win a very big game on the road if they can keep it going.
No, but he's shown great ball security. He made the great throw to Brandon Rideau for the touchdown early in the first half. And he's going to have to take some of these shots with Calgary playing uptight and bump and run coverage.
Well, a 33-yard run by Boyd sets it up. Back into the hands of Boyd. And a touchdown lunge into the end zone for Corey Boyd as the Argos do punch it in.
Well, Corey Boyd with that great run off that left side again. It all starts at the Argonaut left side of the offensive line, and then he allows Corey Boyd to make his decision after he gets the ball deep in that handoff. He can bounce it to the outside of Rob Murphy, or he can cut it back against the flow, which he did there.
5-play drive, 75 yards. The big play, that 33-yard romp up the middle. Prefontaine adds the extra point. And the Toronto Argonauts stunning the fans here in Calgary. An 11-point lead.
And take a look here on that big run by Corey Boyd as Milton Collins, the safety, is going to come up, and he's so concerned with containing Cleo Lemon just in case he pulls the ball and runs here. He stays high and wide, opening up the gate for Corey Boyd to cut through that gap and take off. That sets up the Argonaut touchdown, and he got a good down block by Rob Murphy, the left tackle.
Brandon Smith saved the touchdown on that run, but Boyd puts it in on the next carry, and he's now 15 for 96 in the game. Brent Shaw kicks it off. Larry Taylor from his 5. And Taylor dragged down by Willie Pyle just short of the 35-yard line. Well, it's been a frustrating night for Henry Burris.
Let's take one more look. I want to show you one more key block on the big run by Corey Boyd, and that's the down block right there by Rob Murphy. He's going to go one-on-one on Charleston Hughes. The Calgary Stampeders went with the blitz. There's Milton Collins high. We showed you from the wide angle. That's why he opens the gate there. A good down block by left tackle Rob Murphy. Corey Boyd gets down to the goal line and punches it in after that. That's the Argo Major.
Stamp start out of the bunch, a fake to Reynolds, and there's Rob Cote, the fullback, who's loose and cut down just short of the 50-yard line, but a first down for Rob Cote, the Stampeder fullback.
This is a big series to get some momentum for Henry Burris. They don't have the option of Drew Tate on the sideline because of that injury. This is an area where they would probably even try and shake it up. Had be him he be healthy to come into this football game.
Now Joffrey left side, and Reynolds close to midfield. With Tristan Black on the stop.
With their backup quarterback situation now, and Michael Bishop being parachuted in to move into that number 2 spot, but with basically no practice and no ability to really grasp the offense at all. He probably only has a handful of plays, and Brad Sinopoli, number 3, not completely ready, according to Dave Dickinson and John Huffnagel, so there is no options.
6 for Reynolds, 2nd and 4 near midfield. Short drop for Burris. It looks like he'll take off, and does, and has enough for the first down at the Argo 50-yard line.
But it looks like Henry Burris now, after that Argo major, has a little bit more jump in his step, and where he looked a little casual in some of those throws when he was in the 3rd quarter going towards the score clock here, he all of a sudden, you can see that urgency in his eyes.
Now they go no huddle, and he audibles and sets up in the shotgun. 1st and 10. Argo show blitz, Ivan off the edge. It's over him, and Nick Lewis, who's been quiet since the opening drive of the game, has the catch at the Argo 43-yard line.
Looks like Henry Burris, maybe to just change up the pace of this game, is going to call the plays out there. Now, Dave Dickinson can communicate through the speaker to him in the helmet, and he can get some help there. And you can see Dave trying to not let anyone read his lips with regards to those play calls. But sometimes you'll also like to give the controls completely to Henry Burris and let him call some, maybe get in a rhythm.
So I guess we won't be miking Dave. 8 yards for Lewis. His 4th catch of the game. 2nd and 2. And that one drilled over the middle. Really piled the tackle, but Kenyon Rambo has a first down catch. And Calgary suddenly with a little momentum on offense.
Yeah, and for the Toronto Argonauts, Kevin Huntley is still down.
And Huntley trying to get to his feet, and he's on the limp, and he'll have to stay down. Alex Busby will check in, and they'll have to come out and give some aid to big Kevin Huntley. Eastern All-Star last year.
Went off in the offseason. Lost a lot of weight.
We're going to take a timeout here. About 3.5 minutes into the 4th quarter. His own power headed to the Argo bench after at least 3 plays. Alex Busby is in on that defensive line for the Argonauts. It's 1st and 10 Stampeders at the Toronto 32. Time for Burris, an open man in the flat, and Robbie Bryant the catch. And another first down inside the 20. Working against Sean Smalls on the corner.
Nice route running here by Robbie Bryant. He takes a look in, makes sure he's onside. Good speed off the line, and what that does is it forces Sean Smalls to turn his hips and protect against the deep ball, and that allows Robbie Bryant to break to the sideline.
Now Kenyon Rambo heads off out of the Stamps huddle. Johnny Forzani's in. Bunch formation wide side, and they hand it off. Reynolds, and nothing there. The door slammed in his face, and again, Claude Roten is there, and he has been an enormous story up front for the Argos in this game.
You know, he started out at college at Mississippi Delta Community College, and then after a couple years transferred to LSU. We talked about his time with St. Louis, and tell you what, he has been somebody to reckon with for this young offensive line, as he just has that quick step and power to fight off any block.
No gain for Reynolds. It's 2nd and 10. 5 receivers. Reynolds steps up for blocking. Burris, a quick hitter. It's complete. Nick Lewis trying to shake the tackle. Has the catch at the 10. He'll be close to a first down. Looks like he might be a yard short. John Huffnagel with the decision.
I think when you're at this yard, even though you are playing against Claude Roten, who's had a very good game, and you have a young offensive line, you have to have confidence and show that in your offense to go ahead and get this first. They need some big-time momentum, and a major will get them that.
Looks like a full yard. 9th play of the drive. Tim St. Pierre comes in to help with blocking. See if they go right up the middle. A little stutter, and it's the pitch, the option to Reynolds, and he's down at the 2-yard line. Big first down, Calgary.
You know, and if Johnny Forzani, the receiver outside, just runs his man off, this is a touchdown, and he knows it, yes, because he tripped up Joffrey Reynolds. What a play and a gamble here for the Calgary offense, because that ball is off the line of scrimmage by 3 or 4 yards now because of the turn in the opposite direction. There's the Forzani block right here. Now, if he just runs his man off, he'll be fine. He ends up tripping up Joffrey Reynolds.
So an 8-yard pickup for Reynolds, a first down, first and goal at the 2. Back in the hands of Reynolds, and it's a Calgary touchdown.
The Calgary offense will go for 2.
5-point lead at the moment. The offense is going to stay on the field after the 2-yard run in, untouched by Joffrey Reynolds.
Good vision for Joffrey Reynolds and patience. Get to the outside, and this time Johnny Forzani makes the key block, making amends for the last play where he tripped up his running back. He springs him that time for the major.
First touchdown by the Stampeders at home since the end of the first quarter of the Western Final. And now for 2, trying to make it a 3-point game. And this one is a pass complete to Rob Cote. Henry Burris didn't flinch under pressure, and Cote was all alone. A touchdown and a 2-point convert. It's a 3-point Toronto lead. CFL on TSN action continues Sunday. The Eskimos travel to Saskatchewan to battle the Rough Riders. Live coverage 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, and you can also watch live on TSN Mobile TV.
And it just looked like Henry Burris's alarm clock just went off, because he was a different quarterback on that last drive.
10 plays, 76 yards. And the MOP of 2010 went 6 for 6, 59 yards. Here's Andre Dury on the kickoff return. And he is up to the 30-yard line. And it's a 3-point game because of the 2-point conversion by Henry Burris and the Stamps offense.
You know, quarter 2, quarter 3, he looked a little bit casual, and all of a sudden he's got that step back. You see him sidestep Jordan Younger on the blitz on that 2-point convert. And remember Forzani and how he tripped up Joffrey Reynolds just before his touchdown? Well, this is his touchdown, and number 8, he gets the key block on Sean Smalls up at the top of your screen, and that's the block that springs Joffrey Reynolds.
So here we are, midway through the 4th quarter. Now the ball in Cleo Lemon's court in a test for the maturation of this second-year man. Hands it off to Boyd, who's strung out and brought down by Carl McCartney, who's been pressed into starting service at outside linebacker for the Stamps in the absence of Malik Jackson.
Now the Calgary Stampeders have advantage because they have momentum, they have their defense on the field, and they have Cleo Lemon in a passing down and 2nd and long. Now, does Chris Jones send the blitz, see if he can handle it, or does he drop everybody off, send 2 or 3?
2 for Boyd. He has 98 in the game, 2nd and 8, so unlikely to be running here. Stays in for protection. Cleo Lemon to the sidelines, and that's broken up. Good break on the ball by Brandon Smith to knock that down.
Well, and Chris Jones decides to just go ahead and rush with 3. See if Cleo Lemon is patient enough to wait for a receiver to open up. He's just going to have 3 on the front line. Go ahead and run it, guys. As it comes up, you're going to see 3 down linemen rushing on Cleo Lemon, who rushes the throw. He doesn't have to wait. He doesn't have to get rid of it that quickly.
Intended target was Jermaine Copeland, who has yet to catch a pass in this game. Corey Mace, the defensive tackle from Port Moody, BC, getting attention on the field.
One there, and one comes a little late. There's your three-man pressure from the Calgary Stampeders. Now, Cleo Lemon knows that. He can just hold off, can wait. He's got tons and tons of time, and allow his receivers to extend their routes a little bit, find an opening. He didn't wait that extra time. Calgary Stampeders secondary knocks the ball down. They're going to take a look at Corey Mace on the sideline.
Well, you saw his leg just give way as he tried to explode out of his stance. And is assisted to the sidelines, a guy who has been hampered with back problems. In fact, he was late coming into camp as he recovered from disc surgery in the offseason. 8 regular season games last year. To the sidelines he goes. Larry Taylor awaits back at the Calgary 20. Prefontaine has to kick it away with just over 7 minutes left. Line drive kick that bounces and is fielded about the 23. And Larry Taylor with a return across midfield. And finally colored by Jiro Puali. But a big return to keep the momentum going for Calgary here. 37 yards.
One of the reasons Larry Taylor has an opportunity here is because it's a low driving kick by Noel Prefontaine, and it gives him time. It doesn't allow the Argo cover team to get down there and circle Larry Taylor. So he has lots of room to bob and weave right through the middle of that coverage team.
So the Taylor acquisition now starting to pay early dividends. Calgary did not have a punt return last year, over 30 yards. The longest was 24. He just ripped off 37, and Calgary's got it at the Toronto 50. Burris dumps it off. Romby Bryant, the crosser. He's got a first down and more. Down inside the 30, and finally out of bounds. It'll be marked out at the 24. The wake-up calls come here in the fourth quarter for the Calgary Stampeders.
Henry Burris is going to give up some yardage here. He's going to hit Karambi Bryant on the short crosser and just let his athlete go ahead and take it from there.
So Calgary a first down. Within a field goal of the tie. Short drop. Another quick hitter back into Robbie Bryant's hands. Breaks another tackle and finally steps out of the grasp of first Sean Smalls and then Kevin Ivan. And Bryant, who showed his frustration earlier in this half, has a smile on his face right now.
Burris does a good job there of just looking off the coverage. He looks to his left the entire time, and then as soon as he receives the ball, his head comes around to Robbie Bryant, and the timing perfect. He's at 100 yards now.
Had 4 100-yard games last year. Another Calgary first down. And some movement there on the line by Ricky Foley, and they're going to call offside, or unless he was pulled, didn't look like that.
Offside. Corner number 95. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
So off across the line of scrimmage, the immediate call. And now, 1st and 5. Cornish, the running back, the fake, and Rob Cote once again. He's been useful out of the backfield. The fullback's got another grab, his 4th of the game.
Remember, no Jason Pottinger, and Tristan Black, who's played pretty well in relief. Looks to me like he may be in charge, or one of those linebackers of Rob Cote coming out of the backfield. He's late getting there. And Cote, a #1 target down here in this area.
6-yard pickup and a first down, and now 1st and goal at the Argo 3. With Cornish, the handoff, right side again, touchdown! Back-to-back touchdown marches, and the Calgary Stampeders have the lead back.
That bear that is the Calgary Stampeder offense has just woken from hibernation, and they are on a roll in the last 2 drives, capped off by John Cornish again off that right side. Gets good blocking. Nick Lewis down the field. Romby Bryant on their defensive backs. He walks in basically untouched.
So both Stampeder running backs have hit pay dirt here in the fourth quarter. First, Joffrey Reynolds, and now John Cornish, who did not have a running touchdown a year ago. And Rob Maver trying to make it 21-17, 4:39 left. A fourth quarter eruption for John Hufnagel's Stampeder offense.
Rob Maver is laboring badly. He was hopping on one leg after just kicking that extra point. And what I'm thinking about with 4:39, if Cleo Lemon and the Argos get a drive here, even with a field goal, and close it, Rob Maver may be a guy that John Hufnagel has to look to try and win this game.
And John Hufnagel may have to call Andrew Fabian, the young Calgary Colt Jr., who went 3 for 3 last week.
This was a conversation with John Hufnagel and Rob Maver just as they were driving on that last series to find out if he could go even on the field. And I'm not sure he liked the answer he got from Rob Maver. He did go out for the extra point, but he was laboring badly afterwards. And in a game like this, that's a real concern for Calgary.
Well, you can see the Brampton native is showing his frustration.
There's the kick. He strided through it well, and then he gets stepped on by Cornish.
You're right. It didn't look like John Hufnagel liked the answer, and he asked him twice. Three misses in the game. Still clearly hampered by a quad problem. So Burke Dales has to kick off. And it's Andre Dury on the return, up close to the 40-yard line. And now the Argos, who looked like they had control. Burke Dales with the interesting kicking footwear.
Well, it looks like one of those laces that would give you the toe punch.
Yep.
Style of kick. That's right.
The toe up.
And that's that square-toed boot. So it looks like Burke Dales will be the guy for field goals. Now, if the Argos can drive for a field goal here, make it a one-point game, could come down to the foot of Burke Dales, not Rob Maver.
Do the Argos have a response? Fake to Boyd out of the backfield. Dury, he's got some open room. Andre Dury across midfield, and then gets cut down at the Calgary 47-yard line. Tackle on the play made by Greg Fassett, the other new corner in the Calgary defense.
Well, first of all, Andre Dury gets outside here, and that's why he gets the corner. But I like the decision of the young receiver in Spencer Watt as he goes down and try and get a block for Dury down the field here. Watch 89, layup right there. He could have come in there. It would have been close. He decides not to. No penalty flag. A good decision by Spencer Watt there.
25-yard pickup for Dury. First down Argos. Cleo Lemon has time, has Jermaine Copeland inside the 20-yard line. His first catch of the game is a big one as he gets a little space in coverage against Brandon Smith.
Good composure by Cleo Lemon. He knows he needs a drive. He's going to his veteran in Copeland, who does a little double move there on Smith and comes back into the middle. He leads him to it. Watch how Lemon is going to look the opposite direction first. Look in that direction and then go back to the backside. Again, that's showing his development from year 1 to year 2.
So now they're down inside the 20-yard line. And Lemon's going to stay to the air. He looks to the end zone. At the back of the end zone, and it's too far for Corey Boyd. Keon Raymond stayed with him. 2nd and 10 when we come back. Brought to you by Mr. Lube, and this game's got very interesting in the fourth quarter.
Well, Rob Maver has made it interesting for Calgary, especially if the Argos score on this drive. Corey Boyd closing in on 100 yards. Romby Bryant late in this game in the fourth quarter with a couple of big catches. An interesting decision there by Cleo Lemon. I thought he had an open receiver in the flat. We'll see if that comes back to haunt him here on this second down.
Clock running, just over 2.5 to go. Are they in 3 down territory? Or, well, let's see what they do on 2nd and 10 first. Here comes pressure. Lemon looks in the end zone, deep back and too far for Spencer Watt. It looked like he had a step.
Well, he did there, but I want to take you back to first down. And where Cleo Lemon, we've seen some real positive steps from him, and then some where he's got to go back to that good decision. Sometimes a 3-yard throw is going to turn into a big play. This was first down. Now stop it right here, guys. This is Spencer Watt, who is wide open in the flat. If Cleo Lemon gives him the ball, he turns the corner and probably scores. He's a little impatient. He wants to go back. He wants to get it all in one throw. He misses Corey Boyd here and then just misses Spencer Watt in the corner of the end zone.
Prefontaine from 25 yards out. It's a 1-point game with 2:18 to go.
Now, I like the decision to kick the field goal, but a chance there for the Argos. Again, you know, Cleo Lemon is still just in the beginning of his second year in the CFL, and if he just makes that little 3-yard throw on first down, he probably scores there. Now he goes deep on both plays and misses both times.
You're absolutely right, but I think what enticed him on the second look is he had Corey Boyd isolated against young Carl McCartney, and that was tempting, but good for McCartney to stay with the dangerous Corey Boyd.
And we've seen some great evolution of Cleo Lemon in this game, some real positive stuff. The throw to Jermaine Copeland to get him into that area was one of those points, but that little dump off to Spencer Watt could have been big.
So Calgary takes over at their own 35, and look at Burris air it out. He's got Bryant, and he missed him by a stride. What a chance that was. Romby Bryant streaking downfield, and he had a step on Sean Smalls.
36 years old, and I just think Henry Burris threw that ball about 80 yards in the air, and he threw it about 3 yards too far.
Excuse me, Byron Parker in coverage, and you're right, one stride more. And that's another Calgary touchdown. And now it's a big 2nd and 10 play. Argos looking for a stop here.
Byron Parker's just getting back to his corner position after that long run.
2nd and 10. Back to throw. Dumps it off over the middle. R.J. Franklin hit immediately at the 40. Argos get the defensive stop they need. Jordan Younger with the tackle.
Yeah, and well over 2 minutes. That's why it's a good decision by Jim Barker to go ahead and kick the field goal, not gamble on third down there. He gets the stop from his defense that, other than a couple of drives, have played very well in this game tonight. Now they get the ball back. They get it in Cleo Lemon's hands with a chance to go down and try and kick a field goal to win.
So Jim Barker's team in a pretty good position here. Byron Parker will try to enhance it with a decent return again. If you're joining us late, Chad Owens hurt in the first half. That ball will bounce, and now Parker takes it on the run. 35, they'll get the no yards, a late flag. Parker's return to the 36-yard line. So Cleo Lemon will try and engineer a
No yards. Calgary number 39. That penalties decline. First down.
Charleston Hughes in the no yards area, but the return was more than 5 yards. Can he engineer a drive to get into field goal range for Noel Prefontaine with 1:39 on the clock, so time really not a factor.
No, it isn't. He's got lots of time here, lots of time to just run their offense. He doesn't have to completely forget about Corey Boyd in the running game. Can mix it up. He's got plenty of time here, and he just needs field goal range.
Argos trying to win on the road. They were 5-4 away from home last year. And the pass to Rideau, who has a touchdown, and he's got a catch up around the 43-yard line, taken down by Jeff Tisdale.
For the most part, the protection for Cleo Lemon has been good. That offensive line for the Argos have given him the time and the throwing lanes to throw little plays like that. To just continue to run the offense.
7-yard pickup for Brandon Rideau, and it's 2nd and 3. Need to get to the 46. Quick drop and a big catch by Jermaine Copeland. A couple of key grabs here in the fourth quarter after he had been shut out through 45 minutes.
You know, he gave Jermaine Copeland an opportunity here, did Cleo Lemon, as he's going to come inside. And there's two things on this. One is that how Cleo Lemon leads the ball right out in front to give Copeland the chance to use his body to block out the coverage and make a key catch on second down.
9 yards and a first down up at the 53 of Toronto. Going to the air again. And trying to get to Spencer Watt, who got behind coverage, but the pass incomplete. As Watt tries to work against Keon Raymond.
Well, he had him. Again, once again, Spencer Watt, who's, as we mentioned off the top of the show, Spencer Watt's playing on a bit of a sore ankle. Sustained late in the preseason. He almost gets to that one. That ball thrown to the outside shoulder of Spencer Watt.
That would have been close to Prefontaine range. Instead, the Argos look at 2nd and 10. We're into the final minute. Cleo Lemon, lots of time. The pass over the middle, Andre Dury, first down, and dropped inside the Calgary 40-yard line. Another big second down conversion for Cleo Lemon.
Well, and here's what everyone's been talking about with the game on the line on a 2nd and long. Watch Cleo Lemon step up. Now, he's just got 3-man pressure. Remember that early throw about 2 series ago when he rushed it and got it knocked down? He took his time there.
Now Corey Boyd, as they try and get it into Prefontaine range, and they're looking at about a 42, 43-yarder at the moment. And now does Calgary stop the clock? Looks like they're content probably to hand it off one more time to Boyd and then bring Prefontaine on. Wind at his back, we're going to throw. And that pass is incomplete. Copeland wanted a flag. He's not going to get it.
It was close. I believe it was Brandon Smith in coverage, and Jermaine Copeland thought that he had his hand on the back, and it looked like the right arm was wrapped around the waist of Jermaine Copeland, and it looked like Brandon Smith may have got away with a little pull there.
So the Calgary Stampeders into bind as their second-year field goal kicker missed 3 tonight, and now Noel Prefontaine can give the Argos the lead in the dying seconds here if he can hit from 43 yards out. Prefontaine puts it up, and he has nailed it. The Argos have the lead with 17 seconds remaining.
Clutch kick from the veteran Noel Prefontaine, 14-year veteran in the CFL, and what I like about it more than anything is he didn't think this way, that he had to power this through and try and get a single even if he missed. Kevin Ivan with a great hold went up to get it and bring it down, and no problem. A nice even stroke from Noel Prefontaine, and nails a money kick.
The only thing I wonder, Suits, they've left 17 seconds on the clock. If they'd run the football on second down, even for no gain, the time clock could be out. So let's see what Burris does. A pump, and that pass off the fingertips of Reynolds. I will say, though, that Jim Barker might have been considering that Calgary would have used their timeout in any event. So it just adds a little to the suspense of this final 12 seconds.
Well, and remember, Rob Maver not available, I don't think, on the sideline. So if Burris can pull out a miracle throw here or get a couple of broken tackles, maybe a penalty, it's going to be Burt Dales.
Will it be Burt Dales with the old Dave Cutler tied up shoe? They need a big play. 2nd and 10. Burris again, the pump, under pressure. Ricky Foley in pursuit. Now Huntley. Burris gets it away. And incomplete. Almost picked off Evan McCullough. There's no time on the clock, and the game is over. And the Toronto Argonauts have come into Calgary and stolen this game with a late field goal from Noel Prefontaine. Jim Barker celebrates as the Toronto Argonauts win their season opener on the road, 23-21. That's the Canada Day story here from McMahon. SportsCenter is coming up next.